You're now listening to the Something Good Podcast Network. Please press any key to continue.
You don't know about the other side of the pyramid? The fifth side? It's called the floor, you dumbass. I just want to make sure he realizes there is a fifth side to the pyramid.
And once you open your fucking mind of undefeated goddamn fairness.
I know all of them, and I believe none of them, which makes me an expert. Hello, everyone. This is Chris from the Couch Potatoes, introducing a new series here. I am a firm believer in conspiracy theories, so I decided to bring in someone I met in the middle of the fucking nowhere woods, who actually is a local here in Charlotte. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Quinn.
How's it going? My name's Quinn. Big into conspiracy theories, and I think it's the funniest thing considering how we met in West Virginia. Meanwhile, we only lived like 30 minutes away from each other.
Yes, and that's how I meet most of my friends in Charlotte. It's in other states.
You got to go to other states to meet people.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The social media got me that way.
Gotta love it.
So this one, we're going to be doing a new side series for the Couch Potatoes / Something Good For You Network. If you're in the Discord, please let us know what you want to hear next. So just going into it, we'll be talking about a iceberg of conspiracy theories. This is a series. We'll be diving into each little conspiracy later on, episode by episode. But in a broad way, we're just going to shoot some of the big ones and the little ones. So, Quinn, what's the biggest one that you think is the best?
I think like the most obvious one is still probably like how 9/11 was like an inside job.
Yes, we talked about that before in an older episode. So do you think Bush did it?
I think there was, considering the insurance policy that was taken out on the buildings at the time, right before, I believe so. There was also pending investigations going on with the FBI, because the FBI office ended up being in one of the other smaller Trade Center buildings that collapsed. So, I mean, the government's done certain things to cover things, but has done different actions to cover certain events up numerous times. I mean, one great example, the name is escaping me right now, but it was a whole operation the FBI was involved in from 1969 up until 1979. It was the infiltration of civil rights groups.
Yes. That's actually not even a conspiracy theory. That's an actual thing that happened, which is kind of what I like about the overarching storyline of conspiracy theories. There are true things about conspiracy theories, but they overtake it in the long run.
Exactly.
Going into 9/11, I was in 6th grade and watched it live.
I was in New York when it happened. I was in kindergarten.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
New York?
About 45 minutes outside of the city.
Oh, shit.
With traffic, it's an hour because, nobody can fucking drive.
Yeah.
But, I actually remember I was in kindergarten and I didn't know what the hell was happening. I just saw everybody it was like the whole mood shifted within like 3 hours because, school started at 8 o'clock. And by the time 9:30, 10 o'clock rolled in, it was like everybody was solemn, silent, and there was just parents pouring into the hallway. People were screaming, crying. Next thing I know, my mom's taking me out of class, go out the front door of my elementary school, like past the office and all that shit. And I wind up seeing, God, there had to be at least 15 or 20 cop cars out there, SWAT teams all over. Dude, it looked like, it made me think of fucking U.S. Marshals with Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes!
Because it just looked like that much was being put into it. Like, I was like,
we gotta find that motherfucker, man.
I was like, damn, dude, who got away? Was it Wesley Snipes or Harrison Ford this time?
A few people know those are both like consensual universes. Like,
oh, yeah.
I explained it to somebody, they're like, what? That's the same goddamn movie? I'm like, it's the same fucking people, man.
It's the same people. It's the same story.
It's all fiction.
It's basically like Law and Order. Like, it's basically NCIS is even better. It's the same thing every episode.
Yeah. So I was in 6th grade when that happened. So the intercom came on, and we had channels 1, 2, 3, and 4, which were learning channels. So if you turned on channel 4, it was like a learning channel for high schoolers, or channel 3 for middle school and stuff like that. My teacher wasn't from here. My teacher was from North Ireland.
Wow.
And had a lot to say about the American institution system, education system. But we had turned on the TVs, and the first tower had been hit. There were on the news they had said that the United States had started grounding planes. Okay, not a big deal. Like, not a thing that we, like in 6th grade, you don't really give a shit.
Of course not.
About anything.
No.
But our teacher, this is the first time I ever heard the term terrorist attack in like reverence. And she's like, oh, that's a terrorist attack. America's being attacked. And like she called it immediately. This is before the news even had the word terrorist written on the fucking thing.
Oh yeah, well, especially coming from Northern Ireland, she went through the troubles of the 70s and 80s,
Yeah,
so
I
she
got a
already
friend
knew
talks
that
about
shit.
that shit. He's big into the Irish history. I just keep laughing at her. 'Cause I'm just like, I like having a good Irish car bomb.
I do enjoy an Irish.
About as much as a Protestant on a Wednesday. But no, man, it is a very like visceral experience because it's one of the conspiracies we've lived through.
Yeah.
Now, so like that is like the tippy top of like the most latest conspiracy theories. That and the invasion of Iraq.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell me, what do you think? Like in like a short few words, like, do you believe that it was like basically? Do you think the government was involved in the planning or the actual attack itself?
I feel like they were involved in the planning. The attack itself, I feel like they kind of took a back seat to, except for certain parts. Like if the building didn't go down the proper way, they already had detonation charges set up. Because if you look at some of the footage, you'll see windows getting blown out, but from floors way beneath where the actual fires are. And growing up with family members that were police officers and even firemen, it's surreal to hear even them going, there's no way that could have exploded from that distance.
Yeah.
That's about 8 floors down, and I'm seeing glass and things flying out. And the actual wreckage is way above it. There's no way the flames could have reached that point to where they were blowing out windows well below them. And after you see that, that's when it collapses.
So I had gone down a different type of rabbit hole altogether.
I'm eager to hear that.
So I love conspiracy theories as someone who loves history.
Yeah,
and
same.
went to school for it. So
yeah.
I treat conspiracy theories as historical fan fiction.
Really, it is, though.
Yeah. So it bothers me that like people are ardent believers of some of these, but I do understand like you want answers that you can't get, and I understand, and I totally understand the secrecy behind a lot of this. But my favorite theory about 9/11 is the government fostered a conspiracy. That the failures of the government itself is the conspiracy. That the government cannot protect the United States people enough, and that they let the gateways open and the flood came through. So it's not a conspiracy of the government's involved in an insidious way.
The government's just negligent.
Yes, the government is very negligent.
It's like a teenage babysitter not paying attention to the infant that's trying to climb into the oven.
It's the George Bush Biden conspiracy of it is either, oh, it's an elaborate conspiracy to enslave the American people, or they're just really dumb. You can't have both. Like, you can't call this guy dumb as shit. And then like he orchestrated 9/11 from a kindergarten classroom.
I used to say, I'm like, you knew some shit was about to go down when W would come up to the podium all squinty like.
I love George W. Bush. I know he's a war criminal. But goddamn, he's fun.
He was honestly, he was the funniest president. He was the unintentional comedian of the Oval Office right there. And Dick Cheney was kind of like the responsible older brother trying to keep him in line.
And it's funny is in 5th grade, the year before, we had went to D.C. for a field trip, and the next year 9/11 happened, and that school had stopped doing field trips at 9/11. After 9/11, I'm just like, Jesus.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't have to pay for plane tickets this time, huh, fellas?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about the plane prices. But another part of the conspiracy I like is, so you've heard of the Inquirer, the tabloid magazine with the coolest fucking stories in it.
Oh my god,
the Bat
dude.
Kid, Elvis is still alive, getting blowjobs from Ann Margaret's corpse. Like, just all kinds of crazy shit.
Oh yeah, of course.
My favorite story is the story of the Inquirer, which is part of the 9/11 conspiracy itself. So the Inquirer, being a tabloid, like guerrilla journalism, they were. So They did have true stories in the Inquirer. I don't know if you've ever actually picked up an Inquirer magazine from like when you were a kid, like saw it on the when you're at the grocery store with your mom or dad, and you see like the rack. It's like People magazine in the bottom. It's like the Inquirer or the Express or some shit like that.
I always love seeing the headlines. The taglines are assistant.
Was the one that kept showing up.
I remember. I even saw. I don't know if you ever saw. So I married an axe murderer.
Yes.
That the pregnant man gives birth. There was actually a National Enquirer I saw when I was in South Florida. I think it was in Key West in like a Walmart somewhere, and I saw that it was almost the exact same cover, and I'm like, did they just rehash an idea from the 90s?
Yes. So yeah, the Pentaveret. Remember that story? They made that into a Netflix show. No shit.
No way.
Michael Myers joke from a movie from the 90s is now a Netflix movie called The Pentaveret. Because I love that. That's the conspiracy series. That's the conspiracy guy right there.
Oh my
the world's ran by the Pentaveret. You know,
oh my god.
The Gettys. The Roebucks,
the
Queen,
Rothschilds,
and the Colonel before he went tits up.
How could you hate the Colonel? Because he puts an addictive substance in his chicken that's like crack, smart ass.
Yeah. So the Inquirer around right after September 11th, the Inquirer has a large archive of footage of everything that people send in, videotapes, photos, negatives, and stuff like that. They actually have the only negative photograph of Elvis in his casket because one of Elvis's cousins took a photo during the funeral.
Holy shit.
And they published it, and they have the negatives for it because they bought it.
Wow.
Because it's that kind of journalism. It's like, what's the most macabre, fucked up thing that they can have? But they also they were actually based in Florida near Tallahassee.
No shit. That explains a lot then.
So shortly after 9/11, you know, if you might remember, but the threat levels in colors: green, yellow, orange, red.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So you also remember the anthrax attacks that were happening.
Yes. Are we not the ones in Japan? Because the ones in Japan were in the early.
The ones that were sent to congressmen here.
That's right, through the mail. Yeah.
So during that time, the Inquirer received a package.
Oh Jesus!
And inside that package was anthrax.
And a People magazine underneath it.
Yeah. But months before that, the Inquirer said they had video footage of someone who recorded 9/11 Plane 1 and 2 with a little bit better quality, who were on top of buildings near the World Trade Center, because in New York people were constantly filming stuff.
Yeah, of
and that's how we got a lot of the footage. Is people were just like, the government rounded up footage. Hey, if you got it, give it to us. We need it for investigation purposes.
Of course.
You know, but the Inquirer was saying this is the Zapruder film of the World Trade Center that no one's seen. They got it before the government got a hold of it, and they're saying, and this is where the conspiracy comes in. The conspiracy is the first plane wasn't a 747 or a 777, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Their conspiracy story is this was an AC-130, an attack ship that is designed by the U.S. military, and that was what would hit the building.
Really?
A version of an AC-130 filled with possible bombs.
Explosives, yeah, of course.
And they said the second plane is not exactly a Delta United flight. It was something. It was a plane that was painted very oddly, and flown into the building. And that's the conspiracy right there. And then a few months later, they get the anthrax package, and because it's anthrax and it's late 2001 Christmas time, 2002, the United States government kind of scrambled to that building and shut everything down. To this day, that building is still abandoned because right beside it is a giant Christmas tree that they supply. Like, the Inquirer would always build this giant Christmas tree for the people of the neighborhood, and that's when it got raided a little bit after Christmas time.
Damn, dude.
And it's still empty to this day, and they can't go in because of the anthrax.
Damn, dude.
And that's the story.
That's insane.
But, like,
I've never heard that.
They said they also had footage of like just different type of conspiracies. They had videotape evidence of John DeLorean being handed crack cocaine.
What the fuck?
To ruin his career in the automobile industry.
Oh my god.
They said they had the plans They had the last living plans of the car that was powered by water. I don't know if you've heard that story.
I haven't heard about that, but that what you just said about John DeLorean reminds me of Tucker when he was coming out. He was one of the first independent automobile manufacturers. There's a movie with Jeff Bridges in it, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's about him and how he started his business. This dude literally was building cars out of a fucking barn. He had a whole assembly line set up in his barn. And what ended up happening is that he believes, and most of the common belief is that Ford and Chevrolet both were sabotaging his plans, or they were going in stealing his ideas in the middle of the night because he would go out to go take a look at one of the blueprints he had for one of his cars, and it would end up being put on. This guy actually came up with the concept of having 3 headlights and having I think the steering wheel on the passenger side, and having that as the modern automobile. And Ford really loved it because they knew it was going to sell. They tried to make him an offer. He said, no, this is my idea. So, you know, what's one thing that happens in American business is that, well, if you can't beat them, you got to fuck them over.
Well, that's the story of Dodge, actually.
Oh, really?
Dodge came from Chevrolet, the Dodge brothers, and they created their own product and ended up working with like Chrysler and all that shit. So.
Right.
But yeah, that was just like the rabbit hole I went down into.
Dude,
I'm
that's
just like,
wild.
Because it's like, is there evidence of a good footage? Now it's 2001. Handheld cameras are good
Not
to
bad.
an extent, but can you imagine that guy who took that video?
Who was only like a block away, just watching
it
it.
was like on top of a roof, just taking probably like personal footage of the World Trade Center. Because,
just to take a look at the skyline.
And people forget like. Not only was it the largest towers, it was one of the most empty ones.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of offices like people think there were.
And I think it was Tower 2, was it, that had the whole on like restaurant, shops, all that stuff.
Because we also hear about World Trade 7. World Trade 7, which is the building that was adjacent to them, that also went down.
That was also next to the Marriott Hotel, if I remember correct.
And we'll go a little bit more deep dive into that.
Oh yeah.
If we continue on the series. But one of my favorite, I talk to my friend Alex and stuff about it all the time. It's the story of JFK, which is like the conspiracy.
I'm just thinking about the conversation we had where it was the fucking Secret Service agent that fucked up. Just no.
Yeah. So the Secret Service agent. So the story is, I think I've said it here before, but just a quick refresh. The Secret Service had got drunk the night before because at that time JFK was traveling constantly, and as we know, the Secret Service cannot be trusted in the United States because they are unreliable. They've had multiple presidents been shot and killed.
Hey, we did our best, okay? It's not our fault.
Yeah, like a dude ran up on Reagan and was like tap tap, and it was just like, that's Ronald fucking Reagan.
He just shocked us, man. He just popped up.
One dude almost popped fucking Clinton.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. And also,
one guy broke into the fucking White House while Obama was in. So the Secret Service aren't very good at their job, and like the longevity of an agency.
Hell no,
it's not even that secret. Like,
and what's ironic too is they were started out of the ashes of President Garfield getting shot at point blank range, and it's like they still have the same track record.
Yeah, like you think the president of the United States would have a guy like, hey. Let's not go there.
Well, maybe you shouldn't walk that. Oh, he's still going. Well, all right, that's on you then.
Yeah. It's like, the whole like Abe Lincoln conspiracy. Like
he went to the bathroom and forgot. Oh, what did I miss? Oh
shit.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
I love the joke. It's like Mary Todd Lincoln, you never take me any place anywhere. He's like, God damn it, woman, you're splitting my fucking head open with this. Let's just go. Let's just go out, bitch.
I can't stand this bitch. If somebody would blow my brains out, I'd welcome it at this point. And then,
but so JFK was known for traveling, as he does, and the Secret Service decided, to take a nightcap because they just landed in Loving, Texas, the day before, and this is like where the conspiracy part comes in because there's that whole speech JFK gives in Dallas about basically secret organizations.
Yes. Running government.
Yeah, and it's all ominous and shit because they always play some weird like synth music in the background every time it plays. Of course, it's gonna sound fucking ominous.
You have that emotional appeal. You gotta make somebody feel engaged.
Yeah, you gotta play that fucking that sound in horror movies that make you really uncomfortable. Yeah. You play that on a SpongeBob episode, it's gonna make it uncomfortable.
You got uncomfortability breeds attention. That's why.
Yeah. So they got drunk the night before. The rookie did not. the new guy on the team. So
He's
around,
the DD.
around this time, it's 1963. The what is now that we know now is the M16 is very popular. So the Secret Service have a couple of those ready to rock. Now this is a new gun. We see M16 AR-15 variant all the time. It's like a Barbie for men. You know, it's customizable. It's all this shit. But they had it. They shot a 5.56 NATO round. Now, here's where the funny part comes in. They decide to get in the vehicle behind him. The Secret Service members who are sober enough are able to walk behind the vehicles. The other ones who are actually more senior are in the vehicle behind the president. Now he goes down. Now, here's where the funny part hits. Oswald is perched up. 250 feet, moving target, 3 rounds in 6 seconds. That's it. That is it. And that's all we hear about. What I think, it's not what I think happens, the conspiracy itself.
Of course.
Oswald gets off 3 rounds. After that first shot, the Secret Service member, the young man, the sober guy, who's tired as shit, overworked, pops up with his M16, not knowing where it came from, but the second shot, he goes, but as soon as that second shot hits, the driver hits the gas. Now they're both, keep in mind, they're both in top down vehicles, right? So the first shot, I will say, if I believe this one the most because I love American negligence.
Of course, yeah.
American negligence is the conspiracy theory of all conspiracy theories.
He was ready to be an American hero, but he ended up fucking up on his first day.
And that's why that would be the conspiracy for me, because it's like,
that would be my luck.
Like, could you imagine like someone working at Homeland Security been like, oh yeah, fuck, I forgot all about the Taliban.
Oh yeah,
we weren't even worried about those guys.
Oh shit, dude! I totally forgot. I didn't even remember why we were. I was wondering why we were in Afghanistan.
But like, what happened to those guys? Fuck them. Who cares? It's like,
they're not important anymore. We got better things to worry about.
We defeated communism. Who gives a shit about the Mujahideen?
They're on that high.
Yeah, but no. The gun goes down. He misfires as the gun bounces off the top of the windshield, and he gets the round off. Except it blasts the president in the fucking head. And this is where I think. First shot he misses. The first shot Oswald misses. He goes in for the second shot and shoots Kennedy and Connolly.
That's where you have them jump.
And that's when he kneels down. Right after that second shot, I don't think Oswald fired another one. I think the guy with the M16 put the final blow where his head just explodes, and like all of JFK's kindergarten members go blasting on the trunk.
And the mob guys on the grassy knoll behind the fence are going, "Oh fuck, that was supposed to be our chance!" Like, damn,
shit.
dude.
Just like, I guess I'll go to Ruby's and have a beer.
Yeah, I guess we got to go back to Chicago now. Like, damn,
Yeah.
the fucking Secret Service.
Hey,
I guess
tell that Cuban guy we did it.
Whoever that Secret Service guy is, he needs a fucking raise. Good shot.
So here's where the fucked up part comes in. So the Secret Service, they take off. All right, so they take off with the president. So some of the testimonies, and eyewitness testimony is very unreliable in like a chaotic situation.
Oh yeah,
like
it
this.
always changes.
But one of the people who said they smelled gunpowder, smelled residue from a gun being fired
right
near the bridge where they passed through, and it would make sense that this weapon being shot first would give off that residue, because I don't know if you've ever shot an AR-15. It does have a smell.
It does. It's got that strong gunpowder smell.
And if you're shooting a larger round instead of a .223 or a 5.56, it's going to give off a smell.
Oh, of course.
So here's the problem: that gun that the Secret Service has was retired the next day. This is the conspiracy that I love so much. Why in the world, in 1963, would you retire a rifle owned by the Secret Service that's only been in issue maybe a year? Retire it.
I'm just picturing the meeting. That's what's getting me.
These guys have 1911 .45 Colt pistols on them that have been around since World War II.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to retire an M16 developed in 1962.
All right. You're probably wondering why we called you in for this emergency meeting today.
You're fired. Like that's how that works.
As we know, the president is dead, and there's a few people looking right at the new guy that clearly are not responsible enough for this position.
And, like, you do have like the other conspiracies of like the man in the grassy knoll.
Oh yeah,
time traveling.
The mob and the CIA both being involved in it because Cuba was a primary place for the mob because they were setting up racketeering operations. Yeah. Also, government politics were against JFK in terms of the involvement in the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and the cabal.
Yeah,
of the Illuminati.
I mean, dude, it even goes to the point where it's like I was watching a series about 2 weeks ago on JFK and how he was already in hot water because of the whole Marilyn Monroe thing. Mm-hmm. So even
that's another conspiracy unto itself. Too.
Yeah, really, with her either getting killed or dying, or because there's a lot of different theories surrounding it.
The Netflix movie will explain all of that.
Yeah, of course, as usual, they always do those deep dives.
Anna de Armas just doing uppers and downers while Robert Kennedy is just whacking in the background. That's my jam.
I can't keep it up.
The dude had like 12 fucking kids.
Oh, dude, I believe it. I mean, Joe Kennedy fucked around a lot too.
Yeah,
like
except he water driving.
Oh yeah.
I went and saw his grave.
Really?
Not long ago, me and some buddies of mine went to D.C. and we saw Robert. This is before Ted Kennedy died, but we went to Arlington and saw JFK's.
That's wild.
Thing. We saw the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, but like if you're looking at JFK's tomb, to the left of it, and it's very small, and I mean very fucking small, is Robert Kennedy. And it's
that's bad.
But no, he wanted something small, and it's basically like a little cross because he's technically part of the admirals of the Navy. Who's part of the law part of the Navy. So he has a tomb. He has a spot at Arlington, and it's very small, but it's like right beside his brother. And from what I understand, Ted Kennedy's buried in that, or has a marker there too as well,
right?
Which is one of the few people non-military
that are buried amongst military service members.
Yeah. So, and the whole story of Arlington is another conspiracy.
I've not heard any conspiracies about Arlington. I mean, the only thing I've heard of is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, just the different, brainstorm sessions that have happened with that. Like, was he a Civil War soldier? Was he a soldier in World War I? It's all different.
Well, it's a meaningful place for everyone who's never been identified.
It's more of a metaphorical thing.
Almost like 99% of everyone who's been killed in an American war has been identified finally.
Oh yeah.
My favorite one is that it's stockpiled with weapons.
When shit pops off.
Yeah, when shit pops off, Arlington becomes like a forward operating base in D.C.
All the graves flip over, the bases pop up, watchtowers, the whole nine.
Yeah. But the conspiracy is like Robert E. Lee, who owned the land during the Civil War, sold it off to keep himself alive after the Civil War to not be executed. That was the story.
Shit.
That's the story.
See, when you were saying he was being kept alive, I was thinking the fucking Walt Disney theory where he's frozen in a thing of like in a jar.
I love the Family Guy version of Walt Disney. They just unfreeze him. Are the Jews dead yet? Nope, put me back in.
Put me back in. No, I mean, Walt Disney was actually, his shit was a little wild. Have you ever heard some of the theories about that?
I've heard, so I watched a deep dive into, they're actually having a new documentary, Light and Magic, which is about George Lucas and the Industrial Light and Magic.
Right.
But it ties into the idea that Walt Disney is the father of a corporate village, basically. So his idea for Disney World was the people that worked at Disney lived at Disney, ate at Disney, had families at Disney, and it was basically a corporatocracy within Florida. Basically a commune on the corporate level. And it was very elaborate. He had plans to change things every so often when Disney would expand or something like that. And it would be the central hub of tourism based on Disney property. And, I can't say what was in his mind at that time, because at that time it was Snow White and Bambi.
Oh, yeah.
Alice in Wonderland.
It was all the basic introduction to Disney films that we watched as kids.
And then, he probably wouldn't have expected the lull in the 80s.
Yeah.
Where all the other fucking companies are coming in making kick-ass animated movies and
their
shit.
Yeah, of course. Outdoing what he had.
So basically, beating him at his own game. But Yeah, so it was the plan to change Disney World into Disney Universe, basically.
Well,
Or Disney the country.
What I've always said is like it was Jonestown, but with gift shops and cotton candy machines.
That's what
really
Jonestown was missing.
Yeah.
That's what it was missing.
Yeah, it was really missing the gift
really
shops and the cotton
They really
candy.
needed some shops of candy.
I would have bought a little plushy Jim Jones. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it just screams white knights, white knights. It's like carries like a little AK.
You get the traveling cups with the Kool-Aid. They only have Kool-Aid, which is really weird.
Fun fact about history: they didn't have Kool-Aid; they had Flavor Aid.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
It was cheap.
We were on a budget. We're a cult on a budget.
That's fucking dirty too. 'Cause
like, dude, you need
even now Kool-Aid's like $2 for like 10 fucking packs. Because in 1972 that shit was like nothing.
Oh, that was like 10
was like
cents.
a penny a pack.
Yeah, it was a penny a pack. It was easy to make too, man.
Flavor Aid's like we get 10 per penny.
See, it's just half a penny, whatever the fuck.
Get your flavor packs by bulk. It's like when you hear a story.
You're buying them like ramen noodles.
Or like when you hear the transfer truck full of ramen go over and they're like, damn, $25 just went out.
Oh my god.
But the JFK one is so elaborate. And this is a cool thing about the conspiracy of JFK. This is where the conspiracy people come out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah.
So like before 1963, conspiracy itself was very tight knit. There was very little information in the mainstream media. And I hate saying mainstream media. It's just Walter Cronkite telling people how it was. But like,
really,
but
yeah.
like just people on the news being like, "Hey, this happened. This happened. This happened. This," and that's the way it was. And that's literally how Walter Cronkite would sign off. And that was the way it was.
Yeah.
But right after JFK, all these people come out of the woodwork saying, "No way he shot them motherfucker. No way he shot that guy." Or, "Nah, this is the Cubans. This is the CIA. This was LBJ just shooting this motherfucker in the head."
Yeah, doing a power move.
And probably LBJ's a very threatening motherfucker. They should put his ass on the 5.
Dude, he no, for real though, he really was in a lot of ways.
He's like a modern Andrew Jackson.
He really was
Without the Indians.
Yeah, it was just switch out the Native Americans for black people. That's really what he was in terms of as a president, because he really didn't give a fuck about the civil rights movement. He just knew it was just about to get votes.
Yeah.
That's really what it was, to win Democratic votes.
And it was part of the turn of the Dixiecrats and the Republicans.
He was one of the last of a dying breed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do love. There's a book I read by Lewis Black, the comedian.
Oh, I love Lewis Black.
Who talks about that. He went to UNC Chapel Hill.
Wow. Okay.
And he talked about a story he had heard of LBJ like skull fucking JFK. And I'm just like, God damn.
That makes me think of the. Have you ever seen George Bush, You're Welcome, America? It's a whole one-man show Will Ferrell did.
Yes.
Well, that makes me think of the scene where he's going into the basement of the White House and he's like, "And I saw Dick Cheney getting fucked by a giant goat devil, and his eyes were the size of light bulbs, and him going, Kazuzakana!" And he's like, "I just slammed the fucking door and ran. I was done."
My favorite depiction of George Bush actually is in the movie Vice.
I haven't seen Vice.
Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney, and he gained weight. He looks like a fucking animal. He's the shit.
I gotta see that.
But Sam Rockwell plays George Bush.
Oh my god!
And he's like drinking Miller Genuine Draft, and like, hey Dick, man, do you want some hot wing, chicken wing? Laura, get some chicken wing. Like, I need you to be my Vice. With that Texas fucking voice. "Hey man, I need you to be my Vice." And it's like this weird fucking movie by Judd Apatow who's just like, yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know Judd Apatow made
Not
that.
Judd Apatow, the guy that did a bunch of Step Brothers and shit like that.
Oh, Adam McKay.
Adam McKay.
Yeah, because Judd Apatow did Old School and The Hangover.
Yeah. So like that was the funniest story. It goes into a very elaborate conversation with Dick Cheney and George Bush. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be your Vice as long as I'm head of the Department of Energy."
Well, of course.
And it's just like, that's a little weird. And he's like, and I need an office at Congress. I need an office in the judiciary branch. I need an office in the legislative branch. It's like, the vice president is asking a lot.
The vice president is
actually just a stand-in for the guy who shoots the president.
It's kind of like in the mob. The Genovese family has 2 bosses. You got you have your front boss and your actual boss that works in the background.
Yeah,
where it's like
you need a face.
You need a face to everything, and Bush was the face. Cheney was actually pulling the strings.
I remember hearing a joke when I was in high school. It's like every time you see Dick Cheney drinking water, George Bush doesn't speak. He's an elaborate puppet.
I always loved watching like the whenever he would address Congress, and you'd see Cheney sitting in the back just staring fucking daggers in the back of his head, like, say one dumb thing.
Well, that's why Dick Cheney stared at Donald Trump when old boy died.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, is he going to shoot this dude in a church? He could, and like no one would really give a shit.
Everybody would expect it though.
Even B-Rock would be like, word.
Yeah, you know what? I don't blame you. For
And
one
George
second,
Bush is
agree
just
with
being
you.
coddled by Michelle Obama.
Dude, he was like...
He loves her. I
Yeah.
think what it was, like the problem with George Bush was for the Republican Party, he just really liked black women and he couldn't say that shit out loud.
He could. If you saw like him and Condoleezza Rice were a great example. Just
Tight.
the way... Always.
Tight.
That was like either his best friend or they were getting nasty. Well,
Yeah.
at one point, they had to be. But it wasn't like...
Oh, she was tough.
yeah.
She went to fucking Saudi Arabia. They told her to wear one of those hijab things. She said, "Fuck no." She went to Afghanistan without that shit too. She's like, "I'll kill him. I'll swear to God, I'll bomb."
She's
this whole
just
fucking
walking
place."
around with full ass fucking military fatigues, M16 just on point,
Oh, she's
looking
not
around.
Jared Kushner with his suit and his little stab
Oh no,
vest.
Jared Kushner is just he's a Harvard LARPer at that
Yeah.
point.
But, no, so the JFK. So I actually had a book written by Bill O'Reilly. He writes a lot of historical books with another ghostwriter, and it's basically the plain Jane story. And it's very like, hey, this is what happened, and these are the facts that we know. He never introduces any type of conspiracy in it. The killing Lincoln, killing JFK, both those books, he never at any point says, yeah, there's a conspiracy here. But like I said, that's just one of the top two next, 9/11 JFK.
Yeah.
These are the ones. But going into like actual conspiracies, me and you, I talked about MK Ultra.
Ah, yes. I
So
love
the story
MK
of MK Ultra. So do you know much about that story?
There's quite a lot. I mean, you could really take it apart because it was over 20 years worth of experiments. I mean, you could go into the early stages where they were first experimenting with LSD, both in special forces aspects, like the British SAS had numerous cases of where they would take squads, wouldn't tell them a fucking thing, and put them out into a obstacle course and spray fumes towards them like a fog almost, but it would be all LSD, so they would breathe it in and then start tripping balls.
So before DARPA, do you know what DARPA is?
Yes.
So DARPA develops specialized weapons and
Of course.
chemicals. Before DARPA, the United States would just make shit.
Yeah.
Whatever they want. There's a video that you could watch of giving soldiers PCP for the first time.
Oh no.
They have a cadet, a private, run a mile. He runs a mile. They give him PCP. Run a mile. How do you feel, soldier? I feel great. Can you run another mile? Of course. Runs another mile. Perfectly fine. He's sweating
But he's okay.
and wheezing, but he's okay. And he says, I can run another one. Without prompting. I'll run another one.
Just
And he
ready
runs,
to go.
And he runs. He runs 4 to 5 miles before they stop him because they know he might kill him.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is the wonder drug. This is what Hitler had. This is what Hitler could have had
Yeah.
to power his SS, because the Nazis only had benzies and
meth.
Yeah, so bennies and meth, which is a variation of, I would love
That is
Weird
like-
Al do a version of Benny and the Jets, but it's just bennies and
It's
the
a
meth.
I feel like at that point that's when you I feel like at that point blending those together, that's when you start getting that Forrest Whitaker eye going, where you
Yeah.
have the one eye almost shut and the other eye wide
I
open.
know all of it now.
I have seen all. I know all.
and then just the come down is just like, I was in Fast Times. I was in Fast Times at Richmond High. Yeah, that was awesome.
Why do I feel like Rudolph Hess is the one to say some shit like that?
But so MK Ultra, just like a quick, if we could a broad spectrum way of saying it was a form of mind control.
Yes, and truth serum.
Truth serum and telepathy to an extent.
Yes, that's kind of where it goes into that the Stargate concept, where they were trying to open portals to other worlds unintentionally from that experiment, because Stranger Things actually touches on that, but that was a real fucking thing that happened. It was astral projection is what they were experimenting and using that.
Men Who Stare at Goats was a great movie about
Yes,
this.
that's
It was
100%
hilarious.
true, too. That's what always got me with that.
Because you see that scene where the guy's just popping off rounds at Fort Hood.
Yep.
And it's just like, that actually happened. Like,
Yeah, for
that
real.
part actually happened. Not Kevin Spacey with a giant red light just...
No.
That's scary. That's real scary. But
He might be a mutant. Kevin Spacey's the first mutant we know.
Yeah. But the whole aspect of, let's get guys in a room with hookers and give them LSD and microdose the hooker too. and that was part of the San Francisco experiments. Was like can we do this and this and see what happens. Alcatraz actually had a cool little policy. If you were part of the LSD experiments, they knocked off time on your sentence.
Wow.
A famous criminal got out of Alcatraz real fucking early for doing LSD experiments. Whitey Bulger.
Yep, I was just about to say he was involved in the LSD experiments, which a lot of people don't realize, which I always say attributed to his paranoia, psychosis. I mean, the way he operated, he was a completely different type of gangster. He scared the shit out of his own guys constantly.
Yeah. There's another conspiracy about him in the sport High Life, which is hilarious.
I'm interested in that. That sounds cool.
But the MK Ultra was, you've heard of the word defenestration.
I actually have not heard that word before.
Defenestrate or defenestrate is a fancy European word for throwing someone out of a fucking window. There's another definition to it, but that's mainly what it means. It's throwing a motherfucker out of a goddamn window.
Getting shit done.
Kings had the ability to do this to people. We actually see it in the movie Braveheart.
Yep, when he tosses his visor.
He's like, tell me what you think in this situation. Zip. And like, that's the act of defenestration, is throwing someone you don't like out of a goddamn window.
The guards got me. Oh, shit.
Like, just moonwalk away, motherfucker. You didn't see shit. Call the trolley guy. He'll pick you up. But, so they would take these people who knew too much, who basically got high dose too much and threw them out of a fucking window.
Yeah.
There was one where a guy said, there's a story about one guy they threw out of a window who fell on some bullets, which is fucking hilarious. He fell on some bullets. But it goes into, timeline wise, it goes into the 60s, 70s, and then the 80s is where it kind of pops out. And a good, like fiction wise, we get books like The Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah. The sleeper cell sort of concept. The
sleeper cell conspiracy, which all comes out after JFK dies, because now people are
questioning.
People are just willy-nilly about the shit they're saying out loud now. If you remember, people in the United States from probably 1930 to 1950 were very conservative in what they said out loud.
Oh, yeah. And especially during the 1950s, considering the Red Scare, you had the McCarthyism type things going on. You were scared to say anything out of line because it was kind of like being under a monarchy. You say something negative about the king, you end up going missing. Nobody ever knows what happens to you.
Someone famous who was accused of being a communist?
Who's that?
Nancy Reagan.
Really?
Before she was Nancy Reagan.
Really?
Reagan was head of the Film Actors Guild. And, well, not Film Actors Guild, was it Film Actors something?
Because I know he was an actor for a while.
Okay. But he saved her ass.
I heard a lot about her.
And then he married her. Yeah, like her Hollywood blowjobs. Yeah.
Best blowy in Hollywood from Nancy Reagan. That was what always got me.
Chicken necking from fucking Hollywood, LA.
They call her Rubberneck.
Mm-hmm. Well, I saw a news article online. Some old actress was talking about fucking John Wayne, and she would put his head between her thighs and make him say the Pledge of Allegiance.
What the fuck? And you know what's fucked up? I could see John Wayne even doing that, but I don't know how she could listen to, yeah, you like that? No. You like that, Nance?
He was probably just like women dominating the shit out of him.
You know what? I could see walking into some seedy-ass motel room, see John Wayne bent over, getting
some
whipped.
Bad Times at the El Royale type storyline.
Oh my god, that's John Wayne!
That's a great movie to watch if you want to talk about conspiracy.
What's that?
The Bad Times at the El Royale. It's a movie and it's fucking fantastic.
I've seen the name. I haven't heard it. I haven't watched it.
Chris Hemsworth did it.
Really?
And it's weird as shit seeing him as a cult leader.
Oh, dude, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. John Hamm's in it. It's fucking packed.
Wow.
Jeff Bridges.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
And I'm just like, the fucking soundtrack's fantastic.
I gotta check that out.
I always want to do a whole thing about movies too. But
dude, I'm here for it.
So, we talked about JFK, 9/11, MK Ultra. Another one that's actually real is Operation Paperclip.
Bringing the Nazi scientists over to the U.S. After the Second World War. Einstein was kind of grandfathered in with Operation Paperclip. That one always got me because with Operation Paperclip, have you ever heard of Unit 731 from Japan?
Yes. I actually talked to my dad about this not long ago. It's about the difference of when people think World War II started. When did World War II start, do you know?
Well, in Europe, it started in 1939. But however, in the Far East, it started in 1933 with the Japanese invasion of Manchuria.
Yes.
It just depends on perspective and where you really feel like the flashpoint took place.
And 731 was another, Holocaust.
Essentially,
basically.
yes. It's taking the, because that's where honestly I feel like that's where DARPA really kind of came out of in terms of foundation, because Unit 731 laid the foundation for biological warfare, the use of chemical weapons. I mean, chemical weapons were already being utilized, yes, in the First World War with gas warfare and also in the Second World War, but this, they actually had human subjects, to where the United States was like, it told the doctor, the head of the entire thing, we'll give you amnesty as long as you give us all of your research.
Yeah, and like it's kind of fucked up how much things came out of the Nazi regime.
Yeah.
Like the tons and tons and tons of scientific research that came out.
Of course. Nuclear weapons.
So you Operation Paperclip, though, especially for Nazis, Einstein was able to do it because he worked with Oppenheimer, but he wasn't a Nazi.
No.
But he was able to immigrate over here to work on the Manhattan Project and Oak Ridge in Tennessee, which I've never seen. I've heard it's pretty cool to see.
I haven't seen it. I've heard the same thing, though. I've heard nothing but cool things about that.
Yeah, and then you had the Los Alamos testing the Trinity bombs. And
The funny thing is, my birthday is the anniversary of the Trinity test.
Fuck yeah.
That's like
Where
the
they turn
one.
a desert to glass.
Yeah, of course. Gotta love it. The
That's
big
fucking-
flash.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's like some comic book shit.
Yeah, for real, right? I might as well. I wish I had like some kind of cool character arch where I get mutated from it.
Yeah, so in Operation Paperclip, it was the rise of communism right after the fall of in May of '45, and anti-communist fervor was kicking in too.
Yeah.
Not so much. People were like not understanding that Nazis were nationalists and socialists, which are two broad ends of right and left
Yeah, coming together.
and we talked about it down there. What the America is, and you have the circle of right and left that meet in the middle and create Nazis.
Which I still love that concept. Instead of it's just two different sides, it's a whole circle of
Yes.
a political spectrum.
Yeah, policy is a circle. But the understanding that, oh, wait, the Nazis were just this close to being communists.
Yeah.
Because the word socialist means communist in a lot of people's minds, even though they have fire departments and police,
Yeah,
which is
of
a
course.
socialist fucking concept.
Oh, another concept that came out of the Nazi Party was also maternity leave.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody
And
really knows.
non-smoking.
And
And being crisp as fuck.
I don't know why, like, for some reason, their, like, viewpoints on people, fucking awful. But their own people, when it came to health, great.
Oh, yeah.
Primed, proper, take care of yourself. Here's some health places,
Don't fuck that
gyms.
person.
Don't fuck that person. Here's a condom, which is ironic because Hitler got syphilis.
Yeah. A lot of people in MK Ultra got syphilis too.
Go figure.
You're losing your fucking mind, and like you're looking down and you're seeing the stars, and it's like, what the fuck? And then you look up and see the ground getting faster and faster.
Everything's getting so fast.
And like going into like Operation Paperclip itself, NASA is the biggest thing we've got out of Operation Paperclip.
Yes.
There's a woman, I'm trying to remember her name. She wrote a book. There's two women. There's that one, Jill Hunt, who wrote who used FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, right when it came out to
Nice.
find out all this information about Operation Paperclip.
Nice.
And she had done all this research. It was stacks and stacks. And this is before computers, so this is stacks and stacks and stacks of paper.
Yeah.
With fucking Sharpies written through shit. And it was just like she
redacted. Yeah.
The greatest word the government's ever created.
It's their favorite word.
It's their favorite word. And fuck you. All one word.
And fuck you also becomes plausible deniability.
Yeah. And so she did all this research, and we find out that Werner von Braun, who was actually the head scientist of a concentration camp, in all rights, his concentration camp was just as bad, if not worse, than Auschwitz itself.
Jesus.
So Mengele, who had no predilection for coming to America,
Hell no.
is dead. We assume. We do also say that they went to Argentina,
Brazil.
Argentina, South America.
Always.
There is actually a small little town in Argentina full of whites that are there's a lot of twins.
Yep. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and
yeah.
white skin.
They're cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all right.
they're cool. I bet
They didn't attribute. They didn't.
their Spanish isn't as good as their German.
For some reason, every time they stretch, they do this hand movement.
Reach toward the sky. And so this is one thing Alex hates that I do is I keep bringing up Nazis because I keep ruining the something good for you because it's not good for you, is it, Alex? No, he weighs no. He weighs no. Looks like a psychopath. But with Operation Paperclip, we get things like NASA, and the list is pretty long. The idea of transplant organs came from Nazi Germany.
Yes, it did.
I'm a transplant patient. I have someone else's kidney inside of me.
Oh, shit.
I'm actually on the line of whether or not Nazis are good or bad. They're bad. But I like myself on and like my new kidney.
Well, the funny thing is, you say that too, and I'm an organ donor, so it's like, go figure.
Like, yeah. It's a conspiracy. They don't save you when you're in a car crash.
Yeah, whatever. It's
Everybody
all right.
heard that growing up.
Yeah, of course. They told me that when I was even at the DMV, they told me that. I'm like, listen, you're not going to convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's how I became a Republican at the DMV. It was just written down for me. No shit. That's how I became a Republican. I'm a registered Republican. I'm the most liberal motherfucker you probably meet. But I'm still listening. I get all kinds of fucking hate
Republican on paper.
I get all kinds of hate propaganda in the mail.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But
surprised they haven't keyed your car.
that's when I'll change. They start keying people's cars.
Ooh, got to start registering different. I'm going to go independent this year.
So we'll do a whole episode about just Operation Paperclip and probably just the Nazis themselves. That'd probably
we're
be
just
a 3-part
touching on
fucking
it.
series.
Yeah, no, that really goes in depth because there's a lot of research to go into. There's a lot of things because you could break that up where there's a lot of experiments, different mechanical innovations, scientific innovations. You name it. There's something in there that's affected American society at some point.
Yeah, so me and you talked at length about this when we were in West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a great place to say this kind of stuff out loud in someone's bar, in a basement,
With
in the
nobody
middle
around.
Of the woods.
In the middle of the woods. Yeah, exactly. You're living your best Ruby Ridge life. Except you don't have the fear
90s terrorism is weird.
Dude, like the 1990s, the early 90s was always the weirdest time for me. Like, that's a great conspiracy theory, is the Branch Davidians and the...
David Koresh.
Oh, yeah, because we talked about that
The
in
white
depth.
nationalists, AIDS.
Yeah, very weird time. It was
Yeah.
like the 1970s crossed with just modern day, present day, really. It was just instead of skinheads now, most like white supremacist right guys are all got comb overs for some reason. The fashion changed.
And well, that actually has us delves into Britain's nationalization during the 80s during the punk scene.
Yeah. Have you ever seen oh my god, This Is Britain?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. That whole movie anthology. There's like 4 different movies, different variations of This Is, but it goes in depth about that. About how one kid, the main character, his father was killed in the Falklands War, and it breeds hate in him towards people of other nationalities because a lot of the guys grew up without father figures, and it's exemplified in that.
And the cool thing I think is with Operation Paperclip, there's so many side stories.
Yeah.
I think we talked about Puma and Adidas. Did we talk about that?
No.
So during the 1936 Olympics, Jesse Owens, the Americans are playing in Munich. It's fantastic. A lot of Nazi flags flying around. Everybody's cool about eugenics for some reason.
Yeah, it seems to be the topic of
And then
conversation.
Jesse Owens just starts kicking ass. Okay. And this is the first time a non-white had done this. Early on, I'm trying to remember his name. Greatest athlete of the 21st century, or 20th century, was a Native American, half white guy. Back after World War One or before World War One, and he was kicking ass. He ran like a 440 with no shoes on and beat everybody.
Holy shit. His calluses are probably like fucking concrete.
Yeah, I think Jason Momoa is going to play him in a movie.
No way. Okay.
But Jesse Owens, kicks ass. And it kind of dispels the whole Aryan myth.
Yeah, right in front of the German population.
The Germans. And before that, when Jesse Owens came over, it's normal for the host country to supply the supplies for the athletes. Javelins, shot puts, the tracks, the stadiums, everything, down to the shoes.
Wow.
At that time, there was 2 guys who owned a shoe company, part of Germany, part of the Nazi rank and file
Go figure.
companies, refused to give Jesse Owens shoes.
Oi.
One brother is like, fuck that. I'm down with the SS. I'm not giving this motherfucker shoes. in so many words in German.
and
we know how lovely that language sounds.
Just angry and terrifying.
Yeah. But going into the next part of it, the brother's like, well, no, this is the Olympics, motherfucker. This is for the world.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm giving Jesse Owens some fucking shoes. And so Jesse Owens gets the shoes. Well, the brothers have kind of a push-pull mechanic of their company.
Right.
Well, one brother leaves. Says, fuck this, I'm going to the United States. I'll make my own goddamn shoes.
Oh, shit.
And that is where Adidas come from.
Wow.
The other brother stayed in Germany and created Puma.
Wow.
So those two brands that we know and love today had their roots in whether or not to give Jesse Owens some motherfucking shoes.
That's so fucking crazy to think about. And I think about their products and how similar they are in terms of design. It's the exact same thing, just a different label slapped
And that's the
on
great
it.
thing about history and just conspiracy alone.
Yeah.
Is these individuals are larger than life.
Oh, yeah.
A great one is Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
He's just this batshit crazy guy who likes to hunt and then
I have a feeling...
be a conservative about conservation.
Yeah,
and keeping
protecting
bears.
national parks, but everything else is fair game.
So it's like, yeah, I can kill a shit ton of Panamanians.
We're going to Guam, boys.
Yeah, why not? It's there.
I thought we were conserving. What the fuck are we doing? Imperialism's great, isn't it?
It's the bee's knees, as the kids say. I don't know what the kids say now. I heard the word bussin'.
Oh my god. When I first heard that, I'm like, who the hell is busting a nut? Why are we busting nuts about this?
When Cap gets here, we'll be
I feel like
dragging him down on that one because that's the one who uses it more than anybody.
Bro, I feel like such an old man whenever I hear my wife. She's only 2 years younger than me, and she uses those fucking terms, and I'm sitting here like, what the fuck are you saying, man? What has happened to American slang?
I love it. I
still remember when swag was a thing, and even then I was like, ew.
I love the evolution of our language. It's hilarious.
It's like it somehow evolves, but it also backtracks. It's like the Sisyphus concept.
Yeah, you keep pushing up.
Pushing a rock up a hill and it rolls right back down.
And we've covered just a few, but like just to keep going, are there any ones that you think are just like top tier that...
Like bottom, like in the depths.
Well, we're going from the top down, so we've already hit the big ones. So like MK Ultra, JFK, 9/11.
I suppose the next logical step moving down would be Operation Mockingbird. Have you ever heard?
Yes, I love Operation Mockingbird.
Me too. Because
you guys like music? Are you down with the party? It's just like a reverb sound.
Of course.
Smoke.
Subliminal messaging, listening, observing what each and every American is into in terms of entertainment. I mean, it breaks it down to how are we going to best find people that are going to work for us, and how do we get rid of people that are going to be a problem for us?
So Mockingbird was a series of radio broadcasts with subliminal messaging. That's basically what it narrows it down to, which is a very cool, like a detective comic.
Yeah,
or
it's got that pulp
novel
kind of feeling to it.
It's just like, I gotta stop the corporations from subliminal messaging people. Yeah. Or you could say it's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Oh, dude, now you just left a bad taste in my mouth.
That's basically Operation Mockingbird. He kills a bunch of kids.
You're not wrong. It's just, damn, dude. It's like Village of the Damned.
Shamrock. And some people listen to this are going to have that song stuck in their fucking head for life.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. Silver Shamrock. But that's what it was. The director is part of the Illuminati. He's part of the fucking Mockingbird.
Oh, yeah,
He's just telling people.
Of course.
Like, we have someone we've had on the podcast, but Paul. Shout out to Paul. But we had talked about Stanley Kubrick and his batshit crazy ass and how.
Oh Jesus!
Oh wait, we forgot the biggest one: the moon landing. I forgot all about it.
Oh my god! Yes.
You know why I forgot about it? Because it's bullshit.
I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
I love the moon landing. It's the greatest conspiracy. Next to JFK 9/11.
Oh yeah,
because
of course.
There's visual proof of someone walking on the moon. They're just like, that's bullshit.
I call bullshit on that. That didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
Look at him. His spacesuit comes right off. This guy's a phony.
He's a phony. Kill that motherfucker. Throw him in the trunk. And Stanley Kubrick's like, I'm going to make a movie called The Shining.
But everybody calls it The Shining for some reason.
Yeah. You know Stephen King hates that fucking movie.
Oh yeah, because he completely. He changed
ignores,
the story.
Yeah, he ignores all that shit.
I don't read. Fuck that. I'm making my own movie from it.
Yeah.
I read the back of the book. That's good enough.
But we had talked about on the show how much I hate Stanley Kubrick and his stupid
Really?
fucking movies.
Really?
He only made, I made the joke, he only made one good movie. It was Full Metal Jacket, which is actually just 2 movies.
Yeah, it is really 2 movies because the mid-part boot camp and when they actually go to Vietnam, it feels like you're watching 2 separate films, which it was supposed to be like that.
Yeah. But just the conspiracy that Stanley Kubrick leaves, subliminal imagery and messages
Yeah.
in The Shining to say that I filmed the Apollo missions to the moon, and I'm just like,
I remember hearing
it's like
about
an
that.
apology, and I'm just like, that's fucking stupid. Like, even I love conspiracies. I fucking love them. I love fiction, and I'm just like, that is terrible writing.
No, yeah, 100%. Like, you guys really did. This sounded like it was an amphetamine trip gone wrong. Like, you were just like, this is what it is. I just see that.
I'm more inclined to believe that Katy Perry is Jean-Benet Ramsey before I believe that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing.
She's not dead. See, she's right there on stage.
She was pretty dead on that concrete pad in the basement.
Hey, don't tell them that. They'll sue you.
That's another one.
Oh, dude, that one's so bad.
Conspiracy murder is hilarious.
I just love
Like the
their...
juice.
Wait, what was it?
The juice, OJ. Everybody knows Dave Chappelle did it.
Oh my god. Oh no. I just can't get over the JonBenet Ramsey thing though.
Yeah,
That's just wild.
But yeah, the moon landing was, it was to not only win at the space race, but I would actually love. We actually have someone here who does the KISS podcast on the network, Russ Ward, and he has a lot of information about NASA.
Right.
But I would just love to do a podcast with him, going into the story of not even just the space program itself, but the moon landing too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to save a lot of my comments on that one.
Yeah, no, of course,
we roll around that. But yeah, the moon landing being fake. I actually worked with some people who believe that. Who a friend of mine, who was a close friend of mine, who believed that the moon landing wasn't real. He finally came around, and I hate to say it, that he came around to what happened.
I thought you were about to say, I'm glad he came around, which is ironic because he's a flat earther. I thought we were going to segue into that.
Dude, now I can remember this like the back of my hand. Friday the 13th, January of 2016.
Oh, no.
I started a job at a place at 4 in the morning. I go in there and I start cooking, and I'm talking to this guy I've never met before, and he's awesome. You know, we're working, we're bullshitting, and he likes to talk. I love to talk.
Of course.
That's why I have a podcast with some friends.
Somebody will listen.
That's why I was invited to do a podcast about bullshit. And we start talking about flat Earth, and I just shut the fuck up. And I'm just like, he believes it. He straight up believes that.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's real. That's straight up real.
Oh my god, you're the patience of a saint, dude. I would feel like I was going to blow up.
You know, I love talking. I can say,
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to name him by name, but I was just like, hey man, tell me just tell me what is it about flat Earth? I'm not mocking you. I'm not treating you bad. I genuinely want to know about the flat Earth. And he talks about it's a dome, it's a conspiracy about whites, it's this, that, and then we started getting on race. And then I heard one I had never heard before, which is rare. And when I hear a new one, I jump on it.
Of course.
His theory was, and it's not just his theory, it's an actual part of flat Earth. Whites are not beholden to Earth. They're not from Earth because they don't look like everyone else on Earth.
Right.
You know, their eyes are blue, which means they have no pigment, and their skin is extremely pale, and thus that means they're not from here, even though most races across the spectrum are darker, except for whites. And I loved hearing it. I was just like, keep going, man. I'll stay. Yeah, I'll work an extra 2 hours. I'll work a 10-hour day. I don't give a fuck. Tell me.
I'm getting paid to listen to this shit.
Tell me more of your batshit crazy stuff. Well, I'm selling cheeseburgers and lotto tickets.
Dude, that's awesome. That's like the best combination to be selling while you're listening to the shit.
Yeah. It's like listening to one of those conspiracy podcasts. but no, the flat Earth is... and there are variations. I didn't realize this. There are subcultures within the flat Earth community.
No way.
And they kind of rip each other apart. One is the dome theory. One is the ridgeline theory, where it's like a wall of ice, similar to the Viking belief that the world kind of tips over itself. There are ones who believe that the stars are fake. Other ones are that planets do exist that are round except for Earth.
Wow.
And there's just so many sub parts to the story. But my favorite thing about flat Earth is there was a guy, and I think you remember this, who built a rocket himself and then crashed and died trying to prove the Earth is flat. I'm just like, that is fucking fantastic.
I mean,
I don't wish death or ill will except for some of people.
But that is the greatest thing ever.
That is fucking hilarious.
That is awesome.
That's like OJ looking for the real killer. Stupid.
Launching an investigation himself. It makes me think of
playing
that
on golf courses in Florida.
It makes me think of that episode of SpongeBob where like he becomes the hall monitor and he's going after the bikini bottom maniac, and it's just himself he's chasing after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I love it so much. And so going into like, do you know any like more like secretive ones that are like low tier?
The Finders of Lost Children.
So yeah, so you messaged me about it. Tell us about that.
The Finders of Lost Children cult is, well, it is a cult, but it goes into the concept of human trafficking. Children are involved in the human trafficking. It started out from this investigation that was launched following somebody, I believe it was in Pensacola, Florida? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pensacola, Florida.
Oh, if it's Florida, you know, it's true.
Well, it's about to get really fucking crazy. Hold on a second. Wait till you hear this. These one of these people living in the city saw a white van with two guys, very well dressed, suit, tie, whole 9 yards, and at least 9 children. These children all were dirty, disheveled, unkempt, looked completely unhappy and malnourished. So naturally, woman who sees it calls the cops. Cops come over, arrest the 2 guys after questioning them, and they take the kids in, make sure they're safe. They ask the kids their names. They're all named after different members of American history. There's a kid named Thomas Jefferson. There's a kid named Ben Franklin. There's a kid named Mary Todd. There's like, all of them are named after key figures in American history.
The kid named Ben Franklin was probably the smartest of the bunch.
What's that?
The kid named Ben Franklin was probably the smartest of the bunch.
Yeah, probably. But these 2 guys turn out to be, after they take them to trial, they turn out to be CIA operatives.
Okay.
With 10 plus years under their belts. Like, been in the...
Now, were they, like, concurrent in the CIA while this is happening, or were they former CIA?
I think they were concurrent, and I think they were just about to be out of the CIA. It was, like, their last couple of months. Mm-hmm. And, well, after they take them into trial, the whole thing gets thrown out because the CIA explains, we're going to launch our investigation. We all know how it goes when the CIA investigates itself. Well, one of the...
Do we?
Anybody who's still alive, probably not. Yeah. If they're
Shut
smart
the fuck
enough.
up, man. The phones are on.
Oh, I just heard a click. That means they're listening. Yeah. No, but... Following that, CIA launched an investigation, and whoop-de-fucking-do, as we all know.
And what time is this?
It was in the 1980s.
Okay.
This was in the early mid-80s. Yeah, Reagan era, 85, 86. And...
Oh, the coolest part of the 80s.
Oh, the best music.
Rockets blowing up, Chernobyl going down, and
3 Mile
Metallica Masters of Puppets comes out.
It was just a cavalcade of hits. Just constant hits, man. But following this... one of the PPD officers, a detective, decides to launch his own investigation, goes in depth, starts linking up with other law enforcement bodies in other cities, which at that time is fucking unheard of unless you're going after the mob.
Yeah.
Turns out, as this thing blows up more, there are 2 locations that this cult turned out to be operating in. I'm cutting out a lot of information. Yeah. There's so much you can go into.
Deep dive on all this, but
it really is interesting.
Would be great.
There are 2 locations that the cult was operating out of. One in Florida, which was a warehouse, which they eventually raided and found classrooms, bedrooms, full-on cots. I mean, hundreds of, not hundreds of beds, but tons of beds. Like, it was like a whole commune inside this old factory, along with maps with different markers on them throughout the United States, different notes between both locations. The second location was an apartment building in Washington, D.C., not even 4 blocks away from the U.S. Capitol building, that they were also operating out of. And the craziest thing is that the head of all this was a former United States Air Force colonel, highly decorated, and he had been running this whole thing. It was pretty much to the point that it was kind of like Jonestown in a way, but it was more so of like a secret society that was operating with former government members. Like, the women were primarily there as brood mares, have as much children as possible, have very large families, and then pretty much indoctrinate the kids to become other members of the cult. The cult also influenced American politics. They had a hand in almost everything in government.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into this in terms of, I mean, one of the members, not the colonel, but the guy right below him, his second in command, was actually had a YouTube channel that he was pretty much saying, oh, this is all bullshit, this never happened, it's sensationalized. But if you go to this other YouTube channel called We've Read the Documents, this guy goes full on into all the police reports using the Freedom of Information Act, police reports, redacted documents from the FBI. They were doing a stakeout and saw cars coming in and out constantly, vans coming in and out constantly with kids coming out, and then other kids being loaded in and transported. Like, it was a whole fucking network operated under the guise of the U.S. government, and the government wasn't doing anything. Keep in mind, there's all local law enforcement bodies taking part in this, trying to go after them. It was just local police department, and I believe either the DEA or the ATF. I think it was the DEA at the time, because the DEA back then had no respect. I mean, they were going after Pablo Escobar, but really they were one of the smallest agencies at that time, especially during the 1980s, because everybody, wanted to be FBI, CIA, stuff like that.
Yeah, and the DEA counter working against the CIA with the Contras and everything. Yeah,
and that's like, because the DEA, the CIA, and the FBI have always been kind of working against one another. The FBI and the CIA kind of work hand in hand for the most part. I mean, they usually operate in the same areas 9 times out of 10.
But that goes to American negligence.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
We don't talk to each other.
We don't talk.
The TSA does not contact Homeland Security.
It's like you're trying to call your ex-wife 9 times out of 10. Yeah. I gotta call the FBI. About what? What do you gotta talk to them for? Yeah. They gotta help us with the investigation. No, they don't.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. They're assholes. The one dude, Johnson, over like 4 offices down, took my parking space. Fuck you, Craig.
Yeah, just like a version of The Office, but it's the CIA.
It's just the CIA getting pissed off at everybody else across the hallway.
Welcome to Langley. Some Steve Carell motherfucker is like the head of the fucking Homeland Security.
I low-key want Josh Brolin to be in it.
Oh, God. He'd be threatening yet funny.
Exactly, because that was how James Spader was in The Office. That's the only person I could feel that would fit that criteria.
And it just turns out... Have you seen that show, Inside Job, on Netflix? The cartoon show about conspiracies?
I've seen bits and pieces. I have to sit down and actually watch it.
Christian Slater's in it. It's fucking fantastic.
Really?
Yes.
Dude, I gotta watch that then.
They work in a company called Incognito Inc. Cognito is what it's called, Cognito Inc. Con Inc. And it's just like you rearrange the sign changes into like
Incognito.
Yeah. And they're run by the Illuminati, and they're just like, and the Illuminati are really like, we really like what she has to say. Promote her. The Mothman's in it. He's part of the HR department. He's played by Hannibal Buress.
Oh, dude, that's the best person.
Ron Funches.
Oh, that's even better.
Like,
oh my god.
I'm the Mothman. I'm a Mothman. And we're going to Point Pleasant for that, so I'm just really excited.
Hell yeah,
to do the Mothman.
Like, this whole thing, man, it really blew me away, because it kind of goes into another conspiracy theory, the whole QAnon thing, the cabal concept, because it was like, the
stages of like, these guys are pedophiles, even though these other guys are actual pedophiles.
Where they're moving children and doing this and that. It's kind of like the bait and the switch concept. Yeah. Hey, look at this, but meanwhile, we're going to do this over here. We're going to start
those for the things you're doing.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like a smart criminal. You want to make like an explosion happen on the other side of town, so you can go rob this bank, because the police response is going to be as strong.
That's some hillbilly Kentucky bank robbing right
You're
there.
Damn right.
That's probably the one I wouldn't want to go too deep dive in, because it delves into.
That's how you wind up
some really nasty shit, like the adrenochrome thing,
and that's where you wind up, with like 3 bullets in the back of your head, but it's ruled as a suicide.
He kept shooting.
He just kept shooting.
That's what happened to Meriwether Lewis, Lewis and Clark. He killed himself. He shot himself twice in the head with a musket ball revolver rifle.
Shot himself, reloaded,
and shot himself again. It's insane. But that's a good word to stop for right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. I can't wait to do this again. And we'll just deep dive into another conspiracy.
Definitely.
Maybe the moon landing, maybe 9/11.
Could be anywhere, really. I honestly enjoyed the whole conversation.
Or my favorite, Rome doesn't exist.
Is that like Ohio doesn't exist?
No, but this one is the idea of what Rome used to be, the ancient Rome, never existed. And I'm just like, you got some balls on you, bitch. And it's the woman who does it, and I'm just like, you got some balls, bitch.
I mean, dude, the whole That's honestly, I'd love to talk about
That's a great
that.
thing
That's
about the
great.
internet and the podcast. We can say whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, within theory.
Well, thanks everyone for listening. Anyone at the Discord, please let us know what you want to hear next.
Yeah.
My name's Chris Morrison, and again, thank you, Quinn, for showing up. I can't wait
Anytime.
until we do the next one about the Wendigo.